Hey YouTube, this is another video from Robert Fantastic. Today's issue, I want to talk about white supremacy. One of our first, very often in our travels as black people, one of the first things we learn about white supremacy is that the restaurant industry is very often our very first taste of white supremacy. Or what I'd like to call, personally, entry-level white supremacy. Have you ever noticed that when white people get promoted, they can waltz in, can't be about shit, and they get promoted in like a month or two? You ask anyone else who worked in the restaurant industry like I have, you have to ask yourself, whenever you see a white person and they suddenly become, what's their story? All of a sudden I walked in one day, my boss liked me, and all of a sudden they handed me this book and said, oh, I get to be a manager now. And almost every white person that's been promoted in less than a year, they have that same story. They always get promoted. You ask any black person that works twice as hard and only to be considered half as good, why he's not a manager. Well, for starters, it's called white privilege. It's in all facets of our lives as black Americans. Even if it were, even if it's not a corporate setting, even if it's not an office cubicle, white supremacy exists everywhere. And the restaurant industry has been proven to be no different than any given one of them. Now, there's something to the shirt that I'm displaying right now, but there's another story to that, guys, for another day. Really? Really, Caboodle? Really? Sorry, it's my cat. My cat's fucking with me right now. Anyway, let me get back to the story. Hold on. Oh, okay. Anyway, where was I? I lost my train of thought for a second. That darn cat. Anyway. When you ever notice that when white people get fired, they can just move on somewhere and become a boss somewhere else. You know, that's how it is with my current general manager right now at my work. Her ass was supposed to have been fired. But yet, she's not fired. Not only that she managed to get her job back and got re-promoted, yeah, she started off as quote-unquote an assistant manager. But all of a sudden she gets re-promoted to general manager, and the woman has an intelligence apparatus. Just to see if anyone's talking about her. Well, I only have one thing to say about that. To quote an ancient African proverb, those who've done evil expect evil. Isn't that right, Elizabeth? So anyway, that's an example. How often does that happen to black people? We get fired, or if our job's on the line, oh, we'll be fired long before we could just sneak out and quit and have a DM in our pocket. See, only white people and white supremacy allow that. That never happens to black people. I've seen black people fired over, quote-unquote, creating a hostile environment and ain't done shit wrong. You have white people who blatantly do shit wrong. Not only that they get raises, they get promoted. Black people, on the other hand, when we fuck up, guess what? White people keep score on it. And one of the first places we learn this at is the hospitality industry, or what I'd like to call, again, entry-level white supremacy. So is black, and another reason why I say there is white supremacy, have you ever noticed that when you go to a restaurant, guess what color all the servers tend to be? Where the money is, they tend to be white. Who serve the tables, they tend to be white. But people who work in the back, guess what color they tend to be? They tend to be black. Now tell me, there's nothing right about that. There's something wrong with that. Could it be because as a server, you can make a good living? But as a crew member, you can't do nothing, or as a kitchen, you're doomed to poverty. You know what, this darn... Now, I'm sorry about that. Caboodle's a fucking trip. But anyway, again, that's more white supremacy. If you're a black person, you will be quote-unquote suspended, and the boss will never call you and say we'll call you back, and they never call back. That only happens to black people, ladies and gentlemen. It only happens to black people. See, white people, when they get promoted, they can fuck up. They can make all kind of mistakes. They can show up late from work. They can be high on drugs. But you get frustrated once as a black person, especially a heterosexual black male white black person. As a heterosexual. Because then the only blacks that you ever get promoted. But if you're a straight man, you can't get shit. Black man can't make a mistake. Stuff's crazy. But be on the lookout for it, because white supremacy exists everywhere. It is in all facets of America. Racism is in all facets of American life. Could it be because when you're a certain, you can make that, they just, as black people, they just don't want us to do shit. No matter what it is. It can be the lower echelons of our society. They don't want us to do shit, fam. They don't want us to do shit. And that's a damn shame. Because they know if we're allowed to do that, history shows we dominate that shit. Once we were allowed to do basketball, guess what? We dominated. If we were allowed to play basketball, we dominate. If more of us played soccer, we dominate that shit. Tiger Woods for a long time, like only black guy, he dominated by himself, dominated. The Williams sisters, put him in tennis, dominated. White folks want to close as many of the opportunities for us as possible, fam. Especially with Donald Trump being in the White House. And these white supremacists and their mestizo lapdogs are going to be emboldened by a Trump presidency, ladies and gentlemen. We have to be very careful, and we have to work together and help create our own economy, so we can't be victims of neither entry-level white supremacy, mid-level white supremacy, or other upper levels of white supremacy. Stay strong, fam. And I'll be quick to do another video whenever I get the chance. Goodbye, YouTube. For now.